Good morning and welcome back to Ulti TV's live coverage of the World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Club Championships here on the gorgeous beaches of Villa Simius, Sardinia. I am Ali Thomas, joined by the wonderful Benji Rees, and we are here to watch the second semi-final of the day. Young legends from Germany in white, and Man Down, who are on your screen now, in the dark blue. They are from the US of A.
There's been a noticeable change in between the previous game and now, and it's not that we managed to get all the equipment to work. Just had to cut a bargain with some slightly unsavoury characters, but it all worked. It's got a lot windier. It's got a lot windier in the past half an hour, 45 minutes or so.
It certainly has. You can see this Eurodisc flags fluttering. The wind is coming directly across the pitch towards the cameras and towards the sea, which is just behind us. Eurodisc, one of the sponsors of this tournament. Their pink discs are being used on this pitch as they show up so much better against these white sands. So we will see how both teams are able to adapt to this wind. You can have a look at Man Down, just getting that last little bit of practice in, last few touches before the game starts. So Man Down will be pulling, starting on defense in this game.
Yeah, young legends, you've got to say probably the favourites for this game. Undefeated, they went in the pool stage. Man Down taking just the one loss to America, who we saw wrap up their final berth in the first semi-final of the day against Team Finland.
Young legends, of course, finalist last year, not able to get the win over America. However, a lot of those players who played in 2018 are returning this year, and they have some new additions. So we will see if they will be able to take down their first American team today and potentially a second one later. And that pull is going to bounce out of the back of the end zone and be carried quite a distance away. You can see the wind tipping the underside of the disc up and over. So it'll be a long walk for Pirelli up to the brick mark.
That's something that these teams are going to have to adjust for. You know, not only thinking about during the points, but when you're pulling, how's the wind going to affect this? Do I want to blade it more? Do I want to send it out on the wind? You know, is it worth maybe being a bit more conservative with the pull to make sure that it's not being bricked?
Yeah, perhaps a little bit of first point adrenaline leading to really wanting to crank the pull as far as you can. But obviously on a slightly smaller beach pitch with the wind, not always going to go according to plan. So an immediate break and an immediate turn for the young legends. I think the wind just making that throw a little bit more difficult as it was a very low release. So Man Down have an opportunity to start this game with a break. A little bit of bumping, but no calls. Nice swing across. Pointing where he wants it, but instead finds Lebonge. Germans calling for the left force. Pirelli on the mark. Lots of gesticulating from Stewart, but dumps back to Seal. And Seal finds Wang. Close to the end zone now. Wang's looking for the dump. Finds Stewart. And there's a pit call. Sun's out, guns out, as they say.
Yeah, you can see how the wind's affecting the Man Down offense, because they're trying to keep these passes as short and as safe and as conservative as possible to try and let the wind have the least possible effect.
And Stewart has Reardon completely free on his left. Just on the left side of your screen there. I imagine that's going to be the first look, unless he's got eyes on Lebonge. And Reardon clears out. He's got Wang behind. Oh! And it's going to be a miscommunication. The wind is going to tip that over the outstretched hands of several players, and young legends will have another chance to hold their offense.
Wasn't even a particularly long pass, but you're seeing what an effect the wind is having there. We tested the replay machine before the game, and as soon as the game started, it just decided to throw a wobbly, as kind of like Man Down did there.
Very nice. And that's a lovely crossfield pass, and just bounces out of the hands of Lehmann, not able to collect it. And now we have Man Down knocking on the end zone door. Nice short pass to Stewart. He's looking for Lebonge, but credit to the Germans for good defense there. There's another call, perhaps a bit of bumping. He's got Wang in the back of the end zone. You can see his orange hat just lurking there. So the disc will be tapped in for Stewart. Fakes the round, looks to Seal to get free. Seal right on the end zone line, and he's got 2 players free on the open side. So Reardon with the score and a break to start this semi-final.
Great start for man down. You know, couldn't do it with the first turn, but with the second again. It's short passes, it's dinking and dunking it. Just trying to make these passes as close to 100% as you can, and eventually the Young Legends defense just couldn't keep up. And if they want a way to kind of keep their heads up, bear in mind, America were down early last game, and in the end they won it. It's a relative canter.
Yes, definitely worth bearing in mind. I believe the wind, it looks like it might be a straight crosswind, but it might also be shading slightly towards the right, which would make the end zone that was just scored in a modicum of a downwind end zone. So we may see some more scores there. It's also worth mentioning that yesterday there was very little wind, and a lot of teams were utilising a slightly more indoors style of play. That is lots of blades, overheads and lots of hucks, which is going to be much, much harder in these conditions, which make longer throws much harder to execute and just a lot harder to catch, more dicey overall.
It's the sort of conditions where you also wouldn't be surprised if either team if either team decided to deploy a couple of zones from their arsenal.
That's true. We have seen, I believe, both teams come out with a zone earlier in this tournament. It would be foolish to come to a beach tournament without a zone in the locker, and that is going to be bricked. Interesting that he didn't want to take it where it went out.
Yeah, maybe thinking that with the wind forcing towards this sideline, getting it in the middle makes it a lot less likely to get trapped.
Very true. And a little sidestep to where the brick mark is. Got a nice upfield pull. He's got a deep cut going, but I think in these conditions, not going to be thrown. Goes to ground to take it. Young Legends working it nicely around the back. You can see they're putting a lot of spin on these discs and throwing short passes just like man down were. Schoenberg on the sideline. This is that downwind sideline, so much harder to get a break upfield. But he finds Hertel. He's got Klima in the end zone. Klima collects. We are one apiece.
Much more comfortable that from Young Legends. We mentioned that there is some slight upwind, downwind to this wind, so kind of blowing towards this bottom right corner of your screen. And they use that brilliantly as well, just sitting the throw out on the wind there from Hertel. You could say that maybe he telegraphed that he wanted that throw, but the cut was free enough that even though the force was expecting it, still couldn't quite stop it.
And that's the right angle to have on the disc as well, especially if the wind coming towards you, making sure that you don't show that underside of the disc, because the wind is perfectly happy to just blow it out of the field. So making sure the top of the disc is exposed to the wind means you're more likely to have a completed pass. So we just saw some players having a little chat on the sideline. Some of these players have competed for Carrier Island in general beach tournaments around the world. So there's a lot of connections that some of these older players have, and indeed younger players, through these tournaments and playing on the same teams.
No, I got your point there, Ali. You know, it's these things, especially because, you know, Young Legends were the runners-up in the last edition of this tournament. You know, they will, even if they haven't necessarily played together, you know, you'll be familiar with some of your opponents. You know, you'll have seen them at previous editions, and you build up those little friendly rivalries and friendships with your opponents.
So man down with a quick start to the point. The cross swings to Schaff. Schaff dumps back to Smith. Smith looking upfield. He's got a deep full across, but unfortunately the wind, or potentially a thrower error, is not going to bring that one back in bounds. So Young Legends have had a break.
Yeah, gave up a bit early because he knew he was beaten by the sideline.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is also 99% obvious that there's no point going for it.
And on beach, conserving your energy can be crucial.
Yeah, both teams have quite long rosters. We've got 14 for the Young Legends side, 16 for man down. So almost 3 full lines.
And we mentioned we might see some zone defense. And we're seeing some here from man down, really trying to sag off those handlers, make them thread it through the middle, but they did find the pass there to Vital.
Absolutely lovely shot past the outstretched hands of Iwasco. And man down swinging and looking to the end zone, and well collected by Christian Lang past the diving body of Colin Smith. Just really nice swinging and then utilising the break side by Young Legends there.
And we're back on serve now after that break, and it feels like this game might be like a little bit pendulumic.
Pendulous?
It's going to swing back and forth like a pendulum would.
Yes, I certainly wouldn't be surprised. I'm afraid the replays are still not really working at this point. Hopefully we'll get that sorted by the end of the game.
If not, we'll just put Felix on like on a little hamster wheel somewhere and just like make him manually play the replays forward.
Maybe we can film some sock puppets later and then just add them in as a replay instead. Interpretive dance, perhaps. So the wind is really blowing quite stiffly into our faces here as we are being brought beers by someone from Team America. That's very kind of you.
That is a very welcome surprise. I thought they were just loosening up for the final later, but well, maybe they're doing that as well.
Either way, we're very appreciative. Thank you, Team America. So we've got man down. Oh, wow, that was an incredible grab from behind his head. There's going to be a bit of a discussion about maybe whether there was some contact on the throw, but a slap of the hands. Jens Schoenberg, perhaps a bit in awe of that.
That Joey doesn't share discs. I was reasonably happy with that one. See those distinctive calf compression sleeves? I mean, that was weird, but when the weather's like this, Frisbee, the ultimate is going to get a little bit weird, and it's who can adjust and who can, you know, cope with the fact that it's not always going to be pretty. Yeah, a little bobble on the catch there. It is so much harder to field those discs when they come with a little bit of extra edge from the wind. Man down making lots of small passes, and then a lovely round to Lacrosse. Goes to ground to take it. His hat's come off. I thought it was surgical. Well, in the semi-finals, anything is possible. Oh, and there's a bit of a sand in the eye call, perhaps. It looked like Stewart, while trying Schoenberg there, maybe gave him a little bit of an elbow in the face. And it looks like Schoenberg will come off. Bach is going to replace him. Maybe he needs to get some water to get some sand out of the face, perhaps. Or maybe just a little bit of knock on the old noggin, and he needs a second to recover. Goldsmith's going to also take a breather on the sideline for man down. He's going to be... So both all-star... Yeah, and I love as well that there's, you know, just nice little like back slaps on the sideline, checking your teammates and opponents are okay. Good spirit being displayed again here. Lacrosse has got a couple of players on the break side, but Young down on it. Back to Lacrosse. Finds the bunch, who puts a lovely shot up to the end zone. Is it fielded? It is not, but an excellent bid from Reardon. That's not Reardon, sorry, Stewart, to try and keep it in play. 71 and 77 is sometimes it's tricky to get a good sight on it from where we're sat. But one of the issues about playing in this sort of wind is that it almost eliminates the deep game. So you know that, you know, defenders are going to sit underneath you to try and stop those underneath passes. The question is, can you still work your way free regardless of that pressure? Got Hertel on the sideline, finds Achenbach. And that is a blady flick. It's going to sit beautifully. Oh my word, that was an incredibly weighted throw to Tim Kohlstad. I mean, that is a... Achenbach's a real playmaker, isn't he? He absolutely is. Oh my word, that is a huck, and it's a huck. Written in fast to execute it with a precision, and so teams you've got to command. The tricky thing is when your opponent knows that's what you're doing, it's difficult to get off. It's too long for Lang. Oh my God, Achenbach
swing from the back. That's too incredible. So the young legends will have a short field turn. Oh, and that's just so unfortunate. When the wind is this fierce, and Vital just can't find Pirelli.
Now what this is tactical, so that Achenbach can get a hat-trick of layout Ds this point.
I hope so, and he's certainly in a position on the dump defense. That's a nice up, but it's taken out of the sky by Vital, just a little bit taller.
Yeah, it's floaty, and it means that cannot attack it on the sideline lane.
Intercepted by Smith. So we've had driving Pirelli. It doesn't quite manage to get. Schaff on disc. Finds Smith. Smith dumps back. Smith. Not a lot of upfield options, but finds Schaff. Jogging back and forth in front of the end zone. Always a reliable option. And I think a foul call immediately uncontested by Achenbach.
Yeah, that's a good little battle, that Smith against Achenbach. Achenbach's got a couple of good Ds, but I think every now and again there has been contact on throws and stuff like that, and it's always, yeah, you know, fine, we're going hard. Sometimes it happens, slap the hands, have a little bit of a joke about it, get it back in play.
So Rudi Vital bringing the disc up to the front of the end zone. Looks like he's winding for a big huck, but instead swings to Pirelli, who gets a nice inside shot off to Achenbach. No mark as LeBonge gets to his feet. He's got Lang across the front, but instead swings round and in.
Looked good to me.
And it looks good to Barney. No call from him. So dumps back to Achenbach into the end zone, and a travel called. Oh, timeout called by Achenbach. So the Germans will have a chance to catch their breath and set up an end zone play.
They're going to take a timeout on the field. We're going to do a little
time for another Young Legends goal. Pirelli finds, I believe that is Struber in the end zone. Good timing.
I mean, he saw the window there, and you could tell what's going through Pirelli's head is like, this is not going to be the cleanest throw, but I just need to pretty much wang it to make sure that it's got enough zip that the wind won't affect it enough, so I can really muscle it through to Struber.
So we don't have the scoreboard at the moment, but the score should be 4-1 to the Young Legends. Another break for them in this game, and they are looking pretty dominant at the moment.
It's really tricky to play Ultimate in this wind. It is causing a real problem for both sides here. Young Legends are sitting with it a little better.
Yes, and it does feel like the turns that Young Legends have been able to either force, or that the wind is forcing, have been shorter field and closer to their own end zone. So perhaps a bit of luck in play for Young Legends as well. So we'll see if that holds for them, or if Man Down can get it together a bit. They're certainly looking good at the moment. Lots of low throws. And oh my God, I think Lacrosse knows exactly what he did wrong there as he clutches his head. And Young Legends will have the disc about halfway up the pitch.
Yeah, half-time hooches is going in the background, so we'll finish the point. Add one to that for a half-time point cap.
And that is called in bounds, but not in the end zone. So we've got Herta. Thinks about the hammer, but instead, oh, a blady throw that just can't be hung on to.
I think it's Stephenson, who just thought he had it in his grasp, but wind makes everything more difficult. Even those catches that you feel you should have, because even if it, might not affect the disc that much, it does play in your mind. It knocks and dents your confidence.
Absolutely, when you can feel the wind whipping your hair around, it's, as you say, in your head that things are going to be much more difficult. And could this be a Callahan? No, it is not. But it looks like there may be a foul, maybe a little bit of bumping.
I thought he threw that and then no one touched it, so that should be a turn, and indeed
Oh, of course, yes, he was the thrower, so yeah, just a little discussion, making sure that neither player's touched it, so it will be a turn right on the end zone line for the Young Legends.
Veteran move, catching your own throw to prevent a Callahan.
That is true, but that is a score by Ingo Hertel, who tosses the disc behind him. Very understated score. You can see him walking off the pitch there. There's going to be a little bit of discussion between Stefan Klima and I believe that's yes, number 11, Seal. Maybe just making sure they're okay, or maybe giving each other a little bit of feedback. So we'll see that replay there. Just charges forward and a little dish. Defender doesn't have a chance.
So that's going to make it 5-1, half at 6 in a game that seems to be rapidly running away from man down. But in weather like this, you know that, you know, potentially you could suddenly find things clicking into gear. Your opponents could lose their form, lose their shape. You know, so I think comebacks are probably a bit more possible when the weather is inconsistent.
That's very true. That is very true. They say the wind is a leveler, and it certainly is in some cases, but in other cases it can really expose all of the weaknesses in your game.
It is a cruel mistress.
Man down, working it really nicely at the moment. Lacrosse on the far sideline, looks to the end zone, finds Smith, and Smith finds Schaff for a very fluid and much easier score than man down have had previously.
That looked really good for a man down, not really good for the conditions. It looked exceptionally good for the conditions. It just looked really good. We know that Cross likes to go for that backhand to the forehand side, but this time he brings out the flick, and it makes you wonder a little bit why he doesn't trust it, perhaps rely on it a bit more often. And then 2-on-1 in the end zone. It's a very difficult task for Pirelli, I think it is, to defend, and just popped in for the goal. Man down, finally back on the board at 5-2.
What's really nice to see is, I think for every throw there, you could see the man down players pivot, set, and then throw. Because it's when you start to rush those throws, when you don't take that extra half a second to think about your throw in these windy conditions, that can very often lead to a turn. So good to see that they're adapting to these conditions and being very smart with their throwing and their pivoting. The wind is actually whistling past my ears, past our ears at the moment. It is no joke.
Yeah, it's a bit blowy.
It's a lot.
It's a lot blowy.
So we have seen in previous days the wind kind of dying down in the afternoon. However, we have got games at 2, 3 and 4 this afternoon, so they may have equally tough conditions for teams to battle through. As Young Legends working out the pitch, that's a lovely inside shot to Hertel.
Hertel's such a downfield weapon for this Young Legends side.
And that's a very beautiful round shot to Claudia Heimerking. First time we've seen her on this game, I believe. Tim Korstadt goes to ground, but manages to save the throw. Young Legends working very hard, and a foul from Lebonge.
Yeah, just the pivot out there. Lebonge is sidestepping and makes the contact.
It is hard because you want to be as close as you can be to a player while still giving them disc space, but different players have different kind of pivoting patterns, and sometimes it's hard to avoid all contact. So safe dump back to Logan, looking to the end zone. Well kept in by Hertel, and a lovely break throw. Another relatively easy point. Both teams just sort of ignoring this wind at this point.
Yeah, and that'll take us into half-time. Reardon, I think, just lost his footing as he went to defend that cut from Hertel, and that meant with no force in place, he had a little bit of time to make sure that kept level going to the break side. And I believe that man down will begin this. I'm trying to remember what happened at the start of the game.
I think Young Legends broke to start.
Honestly, it feels that we're in this wind when we're also trying to battle the technical stuff. I must admit that I've forgotten. We are going to see them change ends at half because it's on an even point number. And it looks like that it is going to be man down to receive to begin the second half.
Okay, so I am wrong. They did not break to start.
No, they must have held to start.
Yes, I think man down had a break opportunity.
Yeah,
and then it turned again. So we can see the physio tables out, and some of the players enjoying the services provided.
Getting probably at this stage a much earned and well-deserved massage.
Yeah, especially on the lower body. Hips and calves can be very tight at this stage.
I mean, mine are tight just from watching it.
So we see Hertel holding that pink Eurodisc that shows up so well on our stream.
Yeah, they have provided the discs for this tournament. You can see the Eurodisc flags that are really whipping back and forth in the background of the shot.
Oh gosh, brave catching the pull there. Oh, and it's going to bobble, but caught on a second attempt by a diving Tolchin. Excellently read. Swings to Iwasko. Oh, but Achenbach gets another interception. Chooses not to dump it off to Stefansson. Hertel in the middle of the pitch, looks around.
I'd like to have seen them bounce that disc between the two of them a little bit, while the defenders were a little bit in disarray, trying to work out who was marking who.
No pass is too small. So there was a pick-up field, but we're back in with Korstadt on the disc. Swings to Achenbach. They're on that slightly easier sideline to throw from. Finds Hermeking. Hermeking breaks to Hertel. And Hertel with a big hammer looking for Kornstadt, but instead finds Stefansson, who manages to hang on to it after a little bit of juggling.
Visionary. Visionary. Exactly how they drew it up, I'm sure.
Of course, they practice that in training all the time.
I mean, they got away with that one, almost certainly. But I think what you have to credit here is Stefansson, because the disc is almost certainly not meant for him. But he tracks it, he stays with it, and it just sort of, it agonizingly helixes out of Tolchin's reach, and Stefansson clutches once, twice, and third times the charm as he goes to the ground, and Young Legends break to start the second half, opening up a big lead at 7-2.
And this is definitely good for the Young Legends, being able to get this lead this early on and maybe not having to bring that next level of kind of fighting a mental battle and a physical battle if they are looking to get into the final against a American side who look absolutely on form, as we saw this morning.
Yeah, especially because this semi-final is, you know, one game slot later. Your opponents have a little bit more of a chance to rest. They're watching this game as well, quite loud on the sidelines, so they're doing some scouting. Maybe you want to have a game where you don't show them everything as well.
Yeah, very true. We haven't seen a zone from either of these teams yet, so maybe Young Legends are going to wait until the final to bring that out. There's a nice catch by Stewart, and that's a big IO shot to Lebonge. Oh, it looked like if he'd managed to catch that, it could even have been in, as we saw the line being dragged by his foot, but just not able to bring it in bounds.
You can see what he's trying. He's trying desperately to squeeze through the inside flick. He gets it off, but he can't quite keep the edge that he wanted.
So Young Legends on their end zone line. A floaty pass to Lang. Lang looking long. Swings instead to Pirelli. They're inside their own end zone now. Pirelli up the line. But instead Lang dodging and gets free. Not a lot of upfield options. He's trying to dump back to, oh my gosh. And I think under a lot of pressure from Lebonge on the mark. So there will be a very short field turn for man down.
If you're man down, you need to be alert here because, and actually, especially if you're the Young Legends, because if I'm man down, the one thing I'm looking for is to maybe see if the defenders are napping and I'm just dropping it into a receiver's hands. Stewart, just go there for the Swedish. Go there for the Swedish. Ah, the opportunity's gone.
So, isolating in the front of the end zone, but, snagged by the tall frame of Vital, who will jog it up to the front line. And he's got Struber streaking deep. Doesn't fancy it. He's got several players streaking deep. Still doesn't fancy it. On the third time of asking, it's intercepted by Mark Pletcher. But it looks like there's going to be a foul call on the throw. Lebonge has his hands on his knees, shaking his head. It's going to be a bit of a discussion. 2 thumbs up from Lebonge. I think it's not going to go back. Oh, and that's a lovely high release. He's looking for Lebonge in the end zone. It's always a reliable option. We've got Pletcher. It's got Lebonge on the break side, doesn't fancy it. Oh, and the disc just pops out of the hands of Tim Goldsmith straight up in the air, not able to track it. So Pirelli swings, finds Struber upfield. Struber normally found in the end zone. Finds Lehmann.
Nice. Sorry, I was going to say nice little switch there defensively to make the players have to move a little bit less.
Struber lays out to make the catch. He's standing in the middle of the field, about the brick mark. Dumped back to Pirelli. Pirelli finds Lehmann. They're getting pretty close. And a beautiful floaty shot finds Rudi Weitl on the other side of the end zone. And the young legends look damn near dominant at this stage.
And man down, looks like heads down at the moment.
It does certainly look that way. I mean, there's not a lot you can do in these conditions to really kind of clamp down on throws that are coming out as flat as the young legends are. What
I love about that scoring pass is that it's utilising the wind a little bit rather than fighting against it. This was the potential toe-in from Lebonge on the far sideline, but the disc is tailing away and he can't quite get that gloved hand around it. Then there was the break into the end zone that Weitl scooped and smothered. And we're seeing some more highlights there. There's Struber going to ground. Actually, there were a few this point, weren't there? Now that I think about it, you're like, wow. Amongst all the wind, there's been some great ultimate being played. And this is a beautiful throw from Pirelli. Just uses the wind and sits it over the top to hit Weitl in stride for the goal.
It's actually quite a daring throw because the underside of that disc was exposed to the wind, but I think he put enough touch on it that the wind didn't, the wind certainly sped it up, but not as much, not too much to kind of bring it out of bounds.
Yeah, really getting the snap of the wrist there to generate as many revolutions as possible as the disc goes through a little bit of a wander after landing.
Yeah, it's nearly in the other pitch actually. So we've got Colin Smith jogging down to retrieve it. And we've got man down setting up in a side stack. Looks like they're trying to isolate Kevin Reardon in the middle of the pitch. And they've changed their mind and it looks like they're setting up in... Oh no, it's still a side stack just on the other side of the pitch. Okay, so the disc is on the front of the end zone line. Still there. And that throw is going to sail out of bounds and come back in to be caught by Stefan Klima for a Callahan. Lacrosse sinks to his knees. That's got to be devastating for man down.
And even though there's time left in this game, that feels like the dagger for the young legends. And we've seen 2 Callahans on stream so far this week. Young legends have both of them.
That is true. That is a good record for a tournament, but definitely helped by the wind today.
But, you know, it's credit because the player who's making the catch there, Klima, was actually putting the mark on the force. But he tracks it, he follows it well, and he's perfectly in position to scoop that up, open up the lead even further at 9-2, and the young legends almost have that final place in sight.
So we have 5 minutes left of this game. Young legends are 7 points ahead of man down. It's going to be a tough one to find that mental energy to keep battling in these conditions for the American team.
Huta goes for 5 minutes left before the soft cap comes on.
Disc lands at the feet of Pletcher. Up to Smith, swings to Wang. Wang back to Pletcher. It's a really nice kind of moving it between the handers from man down. We have seen them be very clinical at points. It's a nice upfield shot to Schwartz. Oh, a cheeky little pop to Pletcher. Wang gets free upfield, despite Pirelli trying to get in the way. Swings back to Pletcher. Thinks about the across. Schwartz instead, back to Pletcher. And he sets, and he was right, I think, to lick it off earlier. That throw needs to be released so low to the ground to stay at a catchable height for Colin Smith, who's just not able to get there this time.
You've got to utilise the full width and length of your pivot there, and you know, put a tiny little bit of IO shape on it as well, so it flattens out on release.
So Pirelli looking pretty static, and everything else looking pretty static. Achelbach cuts from the front of the stack, finds Lehmann. He's looking deep. but fakes for Struber to come under, and that's a really nice upfield cut from Achenbach, but the lead pass was too leady, so Man Down have another chance at their offense. Stewart to Smith. Smith gets the swing off to Pletcher, and Pletcher lets rip with a huge one, but it's just a little bit too huge for Stewart to chase down.
A little bit of a punt there, you know, just thinking we've got a good chance of tracking this maybe if the wind eases up a bit. As it is, it kept pushing it out of the back of the end zone, but you don't necessarily mind taking those shots because you're forcing your opponent to go the full length of the field rather than turning it over near your own end zone.
That's very true. We were saying the other day in an equally windy match that Huck and D is a very valid option in these conditions.
But is it the most entertaining ultimate? Maybe not necessarily, but unfortunately there aren't any style points in this game.
No, I mean, I'm sure we can award some style points for them, but they won't help you get any actual scoreboard points.
More's the pity.
So we've got Young Legends on the front of their end zone line, and it's a huge shot, but it's not going to come back in. So
anyone get a tip on that? Play a little bit Mac line.
It's caught by a player from Team America who nicely swings it back to Man Down. So we've got Pletcher on the sideline. He's thinking about the IO break to Smith. Slightly congested on the upfield, breaks round, and Smith catches it on the second attempt. Nice cut from the front of the stack from Pletcher. He's got Schwartz on the break side, and now Stewart on the break side. And Stewart chases it down. Is that called? I think that was called out. Schwartz just kind of fell out of the pitch as he caught the disc. So Young Legends again on offense. We've got Vital on disc looking upfield. Pirelli cuts across the front. Gets it there. Both teams looking quite tired at this point. Achenbach puts out a lovely IO break to Christian Lang, who looked like he wasn't even expecting it.
Oh, that was a delicious throw.
Got Achenbach again. Thinks about the break to Pirelli, but Stewart is able to stop it and throws a big hammer to Struber, who I think maybe about half an hour ago might have had the juice to put the rockets on and get that, but everyone's looking quite tired at this point. You can see all of the players with their hands on their knees.
I think there was a discussion of potentially of a foul in the handler set between Schwartz and Pirelli, and then they decided that it didn't affect anything. The throw was going to go anyway, so the turnover stands.
So that's it. Oh, just bobbles out of the hand of Colin Smith, and he looks very upset as he gets to his feet and puts the mark on Rudi Weidler. Achenbach again. Oh, he fakes a high release, swings instead to Pirelli. Pirelli looking for Achenbach again. Instead, does not find Lehmann, who does make an effort for it. But this is turning into quite a Turnfest of a point as the wind whips the pitch into a bit of a flurry. And
the one thing you want to be, as the hooter goes for the end of the game, is, you know, if you want to really play the best in these conditions, you want to be at full fitness. And when the points grind out, it's difficult to do that as Smith jumps into the end zone for the goal.
A little bit of a roly-poly there. Nice assist by Wang. And Smith lies on his back. There is a man down for Man Down. He holds up his hand for Adam Schwartz to give him a bit of a pull through his feet. But gosh, what grit, what fortitude and determination shown by both these teams in this point.
It feels like the game might be gone for Man Down, but actually if you can put a couple more points in, work out how to deal with this wind, it will stand you in good stead to win the bronze medal match later today. Or who knows, we could still get an unlikely comeback with the score at 9-3 in a game to 10.
Just 7 Callahans in a row?
I mean, the German fans might not agree with me, but I would like to see it, not because I favour one team over the other, but 7 Callahans in a row, can you imagine?
I wonder what the world record is for the number of Callahans in a row. Presumably not more than one.
I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Anyone in the chat, if you know any...
If you've ever scored more than one Callahan in a row, let me know. Genuinely, please do. I'd like to meet you.
Clearly a formidable person.
Is or someone with the brains to intentionally turn over in the other team's end zone so you can set up the Callahan.
Yeah, I suppose you could have a fake world record.
Galaxy brain strategy.
So we've got a fresh set of legs for both teams. I don't think anybody on that last point wanted to come back out. Actually, no, I'm lying. Stewart has decided to come on again after that point. A big bladey throw goes. Is it going to be red? It is! And that is game for the Young Legends. A point scored by Ingo Hertler. Wow.
Stephen Lebonge on his knees in the end zone. Tried his best, but Hertl got a very good read on it. And Young Legends, second time in a row, will take their place in the final of the World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Club Championships.
It felt almost like a bit of an anticlimactic point after the struggle fest we had in the last one. But a point is a point, and credit to Man Down for really fighting, not giving up despite being many points in the hole. And credit to Young Legends for just, as always, really putting on a clinic of how to play Beach Ultimate in the Great Grandmasters division.
Yeah, they haven't lost a game so far this weekend, and we will see a battle of undefeated teams in the final with Young Legends, the Pool B winners, taking on another team that won their pool, America, after they won clean sweep of Pool A and then battled their way through the quarters and semi-finals in a repeat of the final 3 years ago.
So if you've enjoyed this coverage here on Ulti TV's YouTube channel, do engage with the video, like the video, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring the bell to receive notifications every time we go live. We would also really appreciate any monetary support that you can throw our way on Patreon. If you think about all the people who've been watching our streams over this tournament, if everyone chipped in £1, €1, or even potentially a little bit less than that per month, we would be able to bring you even more Frisbee, and we're already bringing you an awful lot. We would love to be able to bring you more, so please do that.
Yeah, we're very lucky to be able to do what we do, and we do it. I think we do a very good job considering what we have at our disposal, and with more, with a bit more financial backing, we'd be able to do more tournaments, more pitches at those tournaments, more cameras. As good as we are on commentary, sometimes we need to have a break so we can get, you can get a wider rotation of commentators in. We can help invest that in getting new people involved in the coverage and in the sport. So anything you can support on Patreon is greatly appreciated. You can find the details in the description of all our YouTube videos, or you can go to our website for full details of what it is Ulti TV does here in Sardinia, at XCCF at the weekend, elsewhere in Europe, Australia and worldwide, www.ulti.tv.
So we're going to have a bit of a lunch break now, so we can get some water and food on. The rest of the teams will be having a break as well. But we will be back potentially at 2 o'clock, potentially earlier. There's been some discussion about bringing the games forward, so we don't have to play in such windy conditions. So stay tuned for more live Ultimate from Seamus, Sardinia. For Benji Rees, I'm Ali Thomas, and we will see you shortly.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member
and fund our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.